Hello everyone, good afternoon. We're going to go ahead and get started since it's 1 o'clock. So I just wanted to take a few minutes at the beginning of the call today to go over the purpose of these calls, since we have a handful of new people that have joined in the past couple of months. So we typically have these calls once a month. The last Wednesday is usually when we have them. And I'm the host. I'm Katie Bailden. I'm a communications specialist at CCE Administration.
I'm like, why aren't they coming?
I'm hearing some chatter in the background. Could everyone please make sure that your microphones are muted for the time being? Thank you. So again, the purpose of these meetings is a chance to get together so that we can brainstorm, share ideas. There's often a guest speaker who presents on a topic related to communication, so we can and really just share our expertise with each other, and it's an opportunity for us to ask questions of each other and of our guest presenters. I'm always open to new topics for these calls. If you have someone in mind that you think would be great to get on to talk about a particular topic you would like to share with the group, please reach out to me anytime. Also, for those of you who are new, I just wanted to take a moment to go over some of the resources that we have as the Communicators group. So probably all of you are aware of the Communicators listserv, which is where one of the places where these meetings are announced. Any documents and information related to these meetings also go to that list, and periodic updates and information related to communications. This communications page is another place where there's information about communications, and that's updated less frequently, but there is some key information there, and that's available to anyone within the system. There's also the CCE Communicators Facebook group. There's a handful of us in there. It's really an opportunity for us to connect and ask each other questions about social media and share content that may be relevant to other groups in the system. And then finally, here are the links to the various CCE social media accounts. And lastly, I just wanted to, probably you've all heard about this, but just remind you about the new webinar series that we've launched on accessibility. So this is all things related to digital accessibility. We had our, excuse me, our first webinar this month on video captioning and transcription, and a PowerPoint plugin that does captioning. So check out that recording if you haven't already. And then
I just sent it to Michelle.
Please do come to the future meetings. They're a great opportunity to learn what accessibility is and how you can start integrating accessibility practices into your workflow. Okay, so that is all I wanted to announce for today. One last thing. Since the end of December, we'll all be on holiday. We won't be having a communicators call next month, but we'll resume in January. As you know, Matt Hayes is here.
Next time, right?
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
I have to mute someone. I'm just taking a moment to mute some people, getting some feedback here. Okay, great. So I'm going to turn it over to Matt Hayes. He's here with us from CALS Communications, and he's going to share with us about Instagram. So I will turn it right over to you.
Thank you, Katie.
There you go.
All right, so I wanted to give a little presentation about how we're using Instagram at CALS, the power of Instagram and some of the features, and hopefully make this useful for everyone here. So chatting through kind of how we're using it and how you might be able to use it in the future, and maybe save some time at the end to answer any questions you might have. So Katie already mentioned it, but if you don't follow already, the CCE Cornell page is linked to below, and above that is the Cornell University CALS page. So our handle, we couldn't get Cornell CALS, so we had to go with Cornell University CALS. So I definitely welcome you to follow us, follow CCE Cornell, and move some stuff so I can see the screen a little bit better.
Oh, you can minimize it. I'll keep,
Okay.
I'll check the chat, so you don't have to worry about it.
All right, so why are we on Instagram? It's a really mobile-focused social media platform that skews younger. So for us, we have multiple audiences that we're trying to reach through our social media channels, one of which is students and prospective students. And so Instagram is a really great platform because that's where the students are. So there's some baked-in analytics on the page to give you some sense of who your audience is. And so based on that information, we know that 47% of our audience is under the age of 25, so likely current students or prospective students or very recent alums. More than 70% are under the age of 35. So it really skews young. This is a space that younger audiences are more familiar with. They use it frequently for their own needs, and they also follow lots of different accounts. And it's a good way to reach younger people who maybe are part of your target audiences, but haven't been able to reach in other ways. So we use Instagram to really tell stories of the student experience. That's one thing that we do. We're trying to relate to students, let them know what we're up to, why CALS is a fun, engaging place. So prospective students might be interested in what campus life is going to be like and what the students are like. And this is also a place to showcase our current students, events, and things like that. So for those who aren't familiar with Instagram, this is a quick screen grab. This was a post from the hotel school. So as you're flipping through your phone, photos come up. You can see a caption down below. And at the top here, when you first log in, there's these ribbon for stories. So this is the story section, and the feed, as you kind of scroll through, will go down the page. So we use our feed to highlight students in compelling ways. We're not just throwing up any picture that we come across. We're very curated and strategic with what our messaging is. So our goals are to show lively photography. It's less straight on images of headshots and stuff like that. It's more people doing things. So this is an image of a student over the summer and an internship doing work in an Oneida Lake. The text is pretty quick and digestible, so you can kind of read it quickly. This is actually one of our longer posts, which is a full paragraph rather than just something a few sentences or a few words long. So we work with our admissions office to help with them with their needs. And so one thing that they asked for was to highlight the majors of students, so that when prospective students are checking out the page, they can say, oh, here's a student who I don't know, but they're doing this major that I'm interested in, and it just gets them engaged. And so the other part of our strategy behind these is to evoke the CALS brand personality. So CALS has a brand, CCE also has a brand, and kind of traits that we try to get across. So for us, we're trying to be engaging, clarifying, passionate, curious, and aspirational. So everything that we do, everything we put out in the world, hopefully has those elements so that in aggregate, that brand comes across on our social media channels. So we're informing audiences, yes. They're also getting a sense of what CALS is. They're getting a sense of what CCE is. They're getting a sense of what Cornell is. And that can work just as well for your own brands as a CCE office or as a extension expert. So we, like I said, do a lot of student-focused Instagram pieces. These are pieces of content that don't really live anywhere else. There's not stories for a lot of these things. This is like our publishing platform to highlight students. So for your needs, maybe it's a place to highlight some recent research or some recent farm visit or something along those lines. But for us, we're highlighting students. This is a great picture we have of one of our students who's out in the quad. She's kind of in her space. It's a nice image of her. Looks like it's a portrait, but she's not looking at the camera. It feels hopefully a little bit spontaneous, even though it wasn't. And we use a caption, which is just a quote. So she gives a great quote of kind of some of those traits that we're looking for. She says, I love working with gardens. I love working with people. And I especially love working with food. This is Hannah. And then she goes on to say how classes here helped her find her passions. Then we also just kind of take random pictures from the classroom. So we're highlighting a classroom experience. And instead of using that quote kind of lead in, we use some brand language. So you can see right here, it says, we aim to leave the world better than we found it, which is part of our brands. We have some language that we can kind of pull from when we need to. And then we lead with a question. So what motivates you? So we're hopefully getting some conversation going to get people who follow our posts, not just like them, but to actually engage, say, I love plant pathology, I love whatever it might be. And so, this generated a few different posts, which is great for us. And then, like I said, it's sometimes just nice imagery that doesn't have a story behind it, but just kind of has a nice, quick, fast post or caption. So never stop growing. Someone watering their plants, making things grow. And I think I posted this on Friday, so the day after Thanksgiving. People are on break. But it kind of has that feeling of, we're still at work, we're still doing our thing. So we do a lot of people-driven, young people-driven posts on Instagram, but it's also a spot where we highlight our research and our impact. So again, a nice high-quality image of just a barrel full of apples with the Cornell name on it. It's pretty clear. And then we use a different type of voice because it's Instagram. It's a little bit more laid back. We can be a little bit more playful. So the caption, as you can see, says we release a lot of new apple varieties in our history, count them up, and we've released 65. So I put 65 different apple emojis in there. So it's a little bit playful. It's not just we released 65 varieties. We actually use the emojis to tell a story. So that's what we're just trying to get across. It's that kind of repetition of high quality imagery. This is a cool place, lots of things happening. And it's also a place to highlight the work that we're doing across the state. So this was a drone video that RJ Anderson at CCE had put together. It was part of a longer video that he put together that was great. For Instagram, I just wanted something fast. So I took this drone image of the drone ascending upwards. It's about 7 seconds long at most. And the caption just kind of gets to the heart of it. There's 7.2 million acres in New York State, and our work in CCE helps make its mission go forward. So this is just the mission language from CCE's website. So I just kind of stole that and had it post up there. This was 7 seconds long. It got 1,100 views. People scrolling through their phone quickly see a moving image. It captures their attention for a second. They read this little message about, 7.2 million acres in New York State. Maybe people didn't know that, and it just gets them thinking. We then, tag CCE Cornell. Hopefully that helps generate some of our audience going back to their audience. And so this is just an example of a video that Terry Bates, who is based out in Portland, New York, doing work with grapes and vineyards. I saw him post this to his Facebook channel, and it was just a really cool video in a cab of the
on your car. The rotors, it's calling what they call it, delaminating. Rust is starting to cause them. So only about half your rotors contact, half your.
So sorry, how do I go backwards?
Uh,
Go backwards. Thank you. Sorry, I was trying to get that video to play. Let me see if I can get that to play. So that was a really quick video of Terry in the tractor. You know, they're harvesting grapes. It's raining. It just has a really cool feel to it. I'm sure he just took it on his phone, and I asked for it, and we turned it into a post on our Instagram feed. So it's hard for me to read from here, but a little, that should be a rain emoji, just didn't show up. A little rain never slows us down during grape harvest. And then, you know, a little shout out to Terry Bates and his work at the Cornell Lake Erie Research Extension Laboratory, help New York grape growers maximize a sustainable yield of high quality fruit through outreach and education. Again, that got 1,400 views, mainly students who are in their classroom. They really don't think about what we're doing out there in the world. Here's a great, quick, engaging video. It wasn't produced at all. It's just a single clip. And you know, it lets people know about our research and what we're doing. And so it fits into the type of post that we do consistently. It's high quality. It shows people in an environment, and it's unique and just a really interesting piece of content. So right here is a quick look at CCE Cornell's Instagram feed. So if you looked at it on your desktop, you know, here's 9 recent posts that they did, and you can see the value of something like Instagram. It's a place where you can to show videos, you can show things across the whole breadth of your experience at Cooperative Extension. There's work here with hemp plants, there's work with dairy cattle, there's work with you know, livestock. Here's Chuck Schumer as part of a political event. So if part of your strategy is to highlight some of your funders and elected officials, it can be a place to sporadically put some of those people in there. You know, showcases a news event. This is a behind the scenes look at a video that they were putting together that they could kind of tease a little bit on social. You know, it's an educator out in the field discussing their work. And this is a really short clip of a field event. So it's a single clip, again, 10 seconds long. In the foreground, you have this sign, and then people walk towards you. It's a really cool, fast way to highlight an event that's going on, to let your audience know about what you're doing. And so quickly, to give you a sense that CALS, we're seeing a lot of growth on our social media. That's why we spend a lot of time trying to put out high quality content, because we're finding audiences. We have competitors, just like, you know, you guys might have other people that you want to be putting yourself against in terms of audience growth, just to see how you're doing. These are some of our peers, our competitors. You know, since the first half of the year, we've seen really great growth. And a lot of that's been driven on Instagram. So happy to take some questions, but first I figured I'd talk a little bit about stories. So we spent all the time talking about the feed, and now I wanted to talk about stories, which are this ribbon up here. Stories last for about 24 hours. You can do multiple posts. They'll appear in these little, you tap on one of these icons and it pulls up your full story, which could be anything from a 1 post to 20 posts about a certain thing. And after 24 hours, they disappear. So it's kind of like Snapchat, if anyone's familiar with Snapchat. This was Instagram's response to posts that have a very short lifespan before they disappear. So Instagram stories can be done to tell a story or just to promote an event. This is an example of Cornell University doing an Instagram story to highlight some research. So this is there's a video actually of these elephants walking through a savanna or a forest actually. There's a prompt, you know, can artificial intelligence help save our elephants? And then the rest of the story kind of answers that question. So we use it for things like that, to showcase our research, but also to showcase events, which I think is maybe more likely the way that you would do it on your channels. So I know CCE offices and educators and specialists hold lots of events throughout the year. So Instagram stories can be a great way to kind of showcase the vibrancy and the excitement around a one-day event, help you promote to your audience that this is happening, this is what they're missing. without having to spend a lot of time on something that's going to stay up there forever. So this event, really quickly, we had an Ag Day earlier in the semester. So it was a time on the quad for our students to bring out kind of some of the, showcase their agricultural work. We had livestock like cows, we had some goats, we had foods and different things like that. So we created a 30-second long video that we used on Facebook. That got 2,600 views, 273 engagement, 32 shares, which is great. On Instagram, 1,400 plus views, 400 plus likes, all really great things. We also did a photo gallery where we reached 2,800 people, lots of good engagements, and Facebook reached 2,100 people. We shared a photo with Cornell, which they have a very large audience, so that got lots of likes and engagements. So on top of all that, we also did an Instagram story. We promoted it beforehand. So the day before, we promoted, hey, there's this event happening at 10 a.m. till 3 p.m. Come on out. It's here. This is what you can expect. It was a good way for us to kind of hype that this event was happening. And then the day of, we did these Instagram stories that can be much more informal. They don't have to be very well produced. People kind of accept that this is a social media thing, so it's fast. It doesn't have to really be high produced. So we just interviewed a student about what the day was, and I can show it to you really quick.
Hey, I'm Ryan Lutek, and I'm at Ag Day and AgPod. Come on out for some free samples like these Chobani yogurt, test some live farm animals, and participate in a hay bale toss.
So we just interviewed a student really quick, posted that to our Instagram story, and based on our audience, 1,200 to 1,500 people are going to see that. Happens in the moment. So we have kind of our audience is on campus, so they could be expected to see this, realize this event's happening, and then actually go out and take part in it. For your CC events, maybe that's not quite as likely because people aren't going to be right there in proximity, but it's still a great way to showcase the energy and kind of what you're doing. Just as a spitball, it could be you interviewing an elected official about why this event that you're putting out is important, why what you're doing is important to the community, things like that. And as you can see, this little GIF was added. It can be very playful. There's lots of just easy, quick ways to make these look decent without putting a lot of work into it. And the other benefits to stories is that it doesn't clutter your page. So, Instagram, social media, things are fast moving. They're kind of here 1 minute, gone the next, but they also do live there. And for us, we can expect prospective students to maybe come back and look at our page to see kind of what we're up to. And if there's just a whole block of 10 posts about this one day, it just kind of feels unnecessary and just gives a little bit too much emphasis to one thing. So this is a gallery of about 8 images that we posted all at once from Ag Day. And this was the video that I mentioned. But those are just kind of 2 long-lasting posts wrapped around all the other stuff that we're putting out on a daily basis, or a weekly basis, I should say. So that's one of the benefits of the story. Once it's gone after 24 hours, it can be either gone completely, or you can save it on your feed up top without it just cluttering your actual feed. So our needs are different than your needs, but we use a lot of campus photos because people respond well to them. It works well for alumni who just want the nostalgia. Students just want to see pretty pictures of campus. And again, it works for our prospective audience. So one of the nice benefits of Instagram stories is you can really use it to your benefit to get people engaged in what you're doing. So instead of just posting a pretty picture, wow, isn't our campus beautiful, you can actually use things to hopefully promote to some discussion. So when we posted this picture to our Instagram feed, we encouraged people to tag us and send us in their own images. There was good feedback. We got dozens and dozens of user-submitted content. We used our Instagram story to feature some of them. So we featured 11 user-submitted imagery. And then you can use it to ask questions. So we asked, where's your favorite place to enjoy the beauty of fall? People on their phone can then type something in. They can say, oh, I love this part of campus. And so we got lots of great responses. People said Botanic Gardens, BB Lake, Johnson Museum, the libraries, things like that, and you can then share that stuff. So it just helps to generate conversation around a topic that you want to lead. So again, this wouldn't be quite so applicable to CCE necessarily, but you could definitely see, as you build up an audience, some fun ways to engage your people in discussions. You can ask questions, you can do polls, you can do things like that. So I try to go through that quickly. Do we have a full hour or just a half hour?
Yeah, we have a full hour. You can take this on if you
All right.
want.
So I blasted through that probably quicker than I needed to, but I was hoping to leave time for us to discuss things, and I can go back and dive into any areas in more depth. But what does this all mean to you? Just a quick recap. Instagram, it's mobile based, so it's really geared towards your phone. People scroll through the images really quick. It's engaging. It's all flashy photography. So to make your post stand out, it's a great way to have a consistent feel, brand your office or your work in a certain way, and engage with a younger audience, which skews younger on this platform. There's unique storytelling features, kind of like what I went through. The story features allow you to ask questions, to do polls, to use GIFs, to use emojis, to really have fun with it, and maybe get insights from your people who you follow and you want to hear more from. It's a high engagement platform, so if a lot of what you're doing on Instagram or on Facebook is you're putting things out there and only a few people like it, Instagram tends to have much more of a higher engagement. So, you might get 10 to 20% of people engaged on your posts. Whether it's Facebook, maybe it's 1 to 2%, which can be discouraging. So if your audience, you're trying to reach younger people, this is actually a way that younger people are accustomed to using this in an interactive way. Lots of liking, lots of comments, and using the story feature to actually engage with you and give you some feedback. And the nice thing is that CCE already has a strong presence. So I'm sure this is something RJ and Katie would be interested in setting something up with you guys, is to help keep their channels robust and dynamic, is to really feature some of your content. So if you don't want to create a new Instagram page because it takes work and it's just another platform to get on, if you don't have time, or if the younger audiences really aren't your target audience, you still have a platform to share images directly with Katie and RJ and say, this is something we're really passionate about, this one event. Maybe there's a way for them to use their platform to help amplify your work, and describe the larger mission of the entire network, while telling the story of you and your work. So that was really it. I went way too fast.
That's okay.
But hopefully, if there's any questions, I can answer anything. I can go back and talk about some of the things more in depth, like I said. But I'll always open it up to conversation.
Sounds good. So feel free to type in the chat any questions you have, or unmute yourselves and just ask out loud. A few questions came in towards the end, and actually RJ jumped in and helped answer a little bit. There was a question about the length of videos that are allowed.
Mm-hmm.
See, RJ said a minute, and
Yep.
then shorter for stories.
Yep, so stories I think are in the 15-second range, and Instagram video has to be underneath a minute. So Facebook, as you might know, you can basically put anything up there of any length. Twitter has a cap of 2 minutes and 20 seconds, I believe. And Instagram, their limit is 1 minute. Again, that's really as long as most people watch anything. So it's not a place to do a really long feature about something if you really want to delve into one topic for an extended period of time through video, but it's a great way to showcase short clips. Like I said, that I'll just show it again because I really like the video from Terry. This is, I want to say 15 seconds. So RJ has done really great work. RJ and Katie are creating videos that really work well on social media, really well produced,
It's all our
time consuming. It's a team effort though. Time consuming efforts to really create engaging videos. And those certainly have a place, and they do really well on places like Instagram, but they can also, if you just don't have the time or the know-how to do something like that, a very quick, engaging video done on your phone can still resonate and work. You guys are out there in the field doing really cool things that it's hard for I know Cal's to capture because we're stuck in offices and on campus all day, and it's also hard for RJ and Katie. They can't be in the field all the time. The hands on the ground people like you guys who are doing the work are a great place to capture some of this really cool content and either use your own platforms to create your own little brands and create an audience in your region that you want to be talking to, but also just to share some of that stuff with us, and we can help reach larger audiences that speak to maybe statewide interests. So there's lots of different ways for us to work as a team to share really cool content.
Great. How do you look up your number of Instagram views?
So on Instagram, it actually just tells you right in front of you. So even if, I took a screen grab of my own account, but even if you just went to our page and looked at this post, you would see that number. You would know it got 1,100 views. It's out there in front of the public. If you own the page, you can go in and get a little bit more detail of number of engagements and things like that, and you can see sometimes these things are sent to people, so you can save this image so you can go back to it in 2 weeks if you wanted, if you really liked it, or you can send it to one of your friends. I can then see, oh, this was sent 5 different times. I can't see who sent what and stuff like that, but there's a few more bits of information that you can see if you're the one who posted it, but otherwise it's right there out there in the world for you to see. We have 6,200 followers or something like that. Typically a video that we put out will get in this 800 to 2,000 view range, which is very high compared to something like Facebook, where on Facebook we have 13,000 people, but if we put out video, it might only get a couple hundred or 1,000. So Instagram is a great way to reach a certain audience with high quality multimedia, and that high quality, again, doesn't have to be produced. It can just be a simple single clip that's engaging.
So you mentioned a little bit that you have access to some more in-depth analytics if you posted it.
Yep.
That's just kind of a built-in feature to Instagram, or do you use?
We use Sprout Social, so we pay for a feature to get a little bit more insight because we're doing reports about our Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter following. So we pay for a service to give us a little bit more insight, but yeah, there are baked-in analytics where you can go in, you can see how many people viewed your story, how many people jumped out of your story. If your story was 8 slides long, you can see where people left. Mm-hmm. That might give you some insight of what people care about. So there are some metrics that are available to you that can be informative, and you don't need a lot of background to make them useful, make that data useful to you.
Okay. So this question's about sharing stories or program if an association didn't want to start their own Instagram account, and what that entails. So I'm gonna, if RJ, if you're on, you can jump in at any point. I don't think this is something we've really done so far. Matt, maybe you can share how you have facilitated that with departments.
Yeah, so I'm in this PowerPoint, and it works better on your phone anyway, so it's hard for me to show you, but right now we have an Instagram story that's up. It's highlighting an event that's happening here on campus. It's this winter sustainability market that some of our students put together. So it's not really a CAL's events, but it gets back into that brand personality I was talking about. Our students are engaged, they're doing things that they are passionate about. The whole point of the market is to showcase sustainably created goods for the holiday season. So that was an event. When the students reached out to me, said, can you help us promote it? I asked for a few key pieces of information. We created a very quick story to let people here on campus know about this event. And then one of my student workers is working at the event, so she just sent me some pictures. So I'm not sure if you could see me before this presentation started, but I was adding something to our Instagram story that she had just emailed me. So we use it as a way to highlight stuff on campus. Again, our needs are a little bit different. We're going to promote events because a lot of that's campus-based, and we have thousands of people within a mile who could walk to these things. I'm not sure if that quite worked for events, if it's an event in Dutchess County, and does it make sense to promote it on the Cornell CCE story page, but maybe it's a way to say, hey, here's some really high quality images from the event. It showed some young students at a stream, and they're taking samples to learn about biological processes in the water. Maybe you snap a couple pictures, and Katie and RJ decide to use that on their Instagram story, where it's like, hey, look at what's going on. There's things happening like this across the state. So it'd be less of a promotional tool to get people to go to your event, but more promotional tool to showcase what you do and what you're all about and why what you're doing is important. Because really, I think that's what you want to get across. You guys aren't just working in a vacuum. You're working in the community for a reason. What you're doing is making an impact, and you want people to know about it. People like maybe your legislators and elected officials who help pay for some of these things, or you want to share some stuff with local media so they realize kind of what you're doing. So maybe it's another way to get people interested in your efforts. But yeah, I think that would be a great conversation to have with RJ and Katie about how you guys can work together, and Cal's can be part of that conversation too. Like I could see us doing an Instagram story where we have images from 10 different counties and say this is just a sample of what's happening on any given day. And we can save some of these stories. So even though they disappear in 24 hours, like I said, there's so right here, I don't show it, but if you went back to our actual profile, there is a space where you can save some of your own stories. We don't, because we just haven't done that quite yet, but you can create stories that you do save for longer periods of time so that it's the first thing people see when they go back to your page. So they can still experience that story if you feel like it's something you want to be promoting for a long time. It doesn't have to be something that's gone within 24 hours, but sometimes that's nice for things to go away.
Great. Yeah, so I just put an email address in the chat box to if anyone has content or things that they would like to share through the CCE account, please reach out to RJ and I.
Yeah.
And we'll get that relationship started.
And one thing just like to think about is, as I started this, each social media platform has a different audience. It skews young, so this is a place to, if you have messaging that's really important for audiences that are maybe younger than your typical audience, Instagram might be a place to put really cool content that appeals to that audience, and then your Facebook account is used for something else, maybe to reach current community members or older audiences, because Facebook skews a little bit older than Instagram.
Just want to make sure I'm not, I'm logged in twice, so I want to make sure I'm not missing anything that might have gone directly to this account. Okay, going back to earlier on, and I missed a couple of chats. So we might have covered some of them, but let me just see. Capabilities on desktop versus mobile when using Instagram. That's a good question.
Yeah, so you can access Instagram on your desktop. You can kind of see what's going on, but you actually can't post from your desktop. It's made to be a mobile-centric platform. So if you don't have a smartphone, it's probably not a good place to be creating content or creating a feed of your own. But like you said, you could be taking pictures and sending it to others and working together. So you're not restricted, but it definitely is mobile friendly. So without a smartphone, you're probably out of luck.
And then could you talk about the whether you're supposed to shoot vertically or horizontal for your Instagram stories?
Yeah. So yeah, that's a great point. For Instagram stories, it's very vertical. So it's 9:16 for a 9:16 ratio for Instagram stories. So since we're looking in the feed, so you can see it's a little bit closer to square. This might actually be a square image. Feed images are better as either a square or slightly vertical. If you have a little bit more, Instagram changed their functions about a year ago. These used to just be square images, and now you can do horizontal and vertical to some degree. But the stories are very vertical and you're restricted to vertical. So show you an example. So this is the ratio of an Instagram story. It's 9:16. So if you were to be taking them, you should actually be taking the photos with your phone in a vertical orientation rather than on the side. This works well for lots of reasons. You know, people use Instagram stories to do little vlogs, which they call them, you know, video blogs. So you could actually turn that to a selfie mode. You could talk directly to your audience. Say, hey, I'm so-and-so, and I'm here at this event. Let's take a look at some of the things that are going on. So it's really made to be in that orientation that's phone friendly.
And Karina noted that photos in an album are all of the same ratio.
Yeah, so you can do, gotta find an example really quick. So this is a screen grab of our feed. You know, this are 9 different posts that we did. This was Ag Day, so this was back in the spring. This is just a single photo. This is a video. You can see by the little video camera icon. And then this one, you can see there's this kind of stacked squares, indicates that there's a gallery here. So within this post, there are probably like 9 different pictures. And yes, they all have to be, if you do that type of a gallery, they'd all have to have the same orientation.
Any other questions?
Maybe if RJ is on there and wants to talk, he can discuss how CC uses Instagram, maybe based on what your audience is. I'm not sure if RJ is available to talk, but if he's there and wants to.
No, I muted everyone, but I think if you're available, you can unmute yourself.
Yeah, I'm unmuted now. I mean, we haven't really delved into stories quite yet. I mean, largely because with what Katie and I do, there's not a lot of event coverage or promotion, which I think is kind of the ideal scenario for using Instagram stories for us. But other than that, I mean, we're just trying to put up content as we capture it or shortly thereafter, and try to tell the stories of the stuff we're seeing out in the field. And I think that would serve association communicators well too, to kind of just give your audiences a glimpse of kind of what you're seeing in your travels, in your work, in your programming, the people you're working with.
I have a question. So is Instagram, I know in some social media platforms you can set up like a group account or a business account or something like that, where there can be multiple users that post. Does Instagram allow for that, or is there kind of one login?
Yep, so Facebook, anyone who has a Facebook account underneath the association probably knows you log in with your own personal account and then get access. So you have to log into your own and then kind of toggle into the accounts. Instagram's kind of like Twitter, where there's just the business page, and then anyone can really log into it. So if you have the password, several people can can just log into that account and can post and do all these things. If you do that, just like anytime you open up a social media channel, be sure you use a general email. If it's not you personally, if it's not John Doe putting up this page and it's CCE Rockland County or whatever it might be sure to use a generic general email account that other people can access, just in case you're on vacation or you leave and go somewhere else. So it doesn't just kind of leave with you. It's kind of a best practice, and to make sure other people can access it if need be.
Hey, Matt, what do you think is kind of, what would be too many Instagram stories to post in a day?
So one of the nice things about Instagram stories is that, so I don't use Instagram personally that often in my own personal life. So I have like just 60 followers or friends that I follow. So I don't really have like a really big, long group. I kind of purposely keep it small. It'll be nice because, I'll get updates from friends as they post things, but at the top ribbon where those stories are, it'll refresh with the most recent content. So, if you post something in the morning on your Instagram story, you post two posts to the same story, and then come back to it 5 hours later. When you update that new picture, it'll put it back into my feed as something new. So it kind of is a good way to during a day-long event, to kind of keep things fresh. It depends on what you're trying to do, but I mean, it could be a single post and it could be upwards of maybe 10, maybe is a high end. Based on our experience, we typically lose about 10% of our audience with each new piece of content. So people will, open up the first one, they'll say, oh, this is relevant to me or not relevant to me. If it's relevant, maybe they go on the next one, the next one, the next one. But at some point, people get the gist and they just go off on with their day and they'll jump out of it. So we'll typically lose about 10% of our viewers each time. So for that reason, I wouldn't do more than a few at the most, maybe 10 at the max. So keeping it tight, keeping it concise, only showing the best of the best is really a good thing to keep in mind. Really make sure what you're putting out there is something that always gets back to your larger mission for your communication work. Is it to highlight research? If it's research focused, maybe you can go into more detail, but if it's really just to attract people to an event, probably only 2 or 3 posts is going to be enough without overloading people. And then just for typical day-to-day posts, we try not to do more than 1 a day. So that's just kind of general Instagram posts, not stories. We try to keep things consistent, at least, maybe 5 a week total. But it's not a place just to be putting photo after photo after photo after photo. You can kind of space them out, do a couple a week, depending on what your bandwidth is. But I wouldn't overdo it and do more than 1 a day.
Yeah, that's good. Interesting. So another question. So feeds, how do you curate your own feed? Like from the CALS account, do you follow, everyone, or do you kind of curate it so you're seeing?
Yeah. So for us, so we have like 6,200 followers. We follow basically just Cornell accounts. So we follow like 100 accounts, just like other Cornell communicators. Other people, their tactic and the strategy is to there's kind of like a informal agreement that people who follow you typically then follow them. It's a little bit different when it's like a brand like we are. But that's a good way to build followers is, follow people, they'll then follow you. So there's plenty of other places like right here is Cornell Hotel School. They tend to follow a lot of their students. So if this was live and I could go to their account, they might have a few thousand followers and they're probably have just as many that they follow, or at least a few hundred because they're following students. So it depends on what you're trying to do and trying to achieve. But that one-to-one is a good way to build followers. You follow them, they'll follow you. You kind of build an audience that way.
All right, well, we have a few minutes left if there's any additional questions, or RJ, if you wanted to add anything else.
Well, I was kind of curious to ask Matt if he's strategic at all in what he likes, as he's scrolling through his feed.
So our feed is dominated by Cornell things. So I really use it to post. It's a good way for me to get a sense of what's going on. So I'll see all of RJ's work and Katie's work. I like those. The liking mechanism, I think, helps. We start liking a lot of Cornell CCE. Maybe that will then generate a friend recommendation to one of our audience members to then like CCE. So it's not like Twitter, where Twitter, when you like something, it actually shows up on your feed and you can go back and see all the things that people have liked. There's not really that functionality in Instagram, so you can't go back and look at all the posts that Cornell Callis has liked in the last 6 months. But because we use it more as a publishing platform and it's less of that conversation that we're involved in, we typically just like things that are in our wheelhouse. So that's a lot of CCE things, Cornell University things. Cornell Small Farms Program just started an Instagram feed, so we like them and we like their posts. If any of the counties do have Instagram feeds or accounts or are looking to start one, we'd love for you to reach out and say, hey, we have this account, I can like it. And that just helps me keep informed of what's going on. So a lot of times, see if I can find one. So we always use this Cornell Cal's hashtag. Instagram is a hashtag-driven platform. So we kind of encourage other people to use Cornell Cal's. We use it on all of our posts. Other people use it as well. So students will use that hashtag. And so I'll look back and say, oh, these students posted this thing about their classroom and they tagged Cal's. That just is a good place for me to find content that I can then download and reshare. So coming up with a common hashtag is useful as a way to generate conversation and also to find other content out there that you might want to share.
Is there one that you use, RJ?
RJ, did you hear that question? Is there a hashtag that you use?
Yeah, I just typed it in the chat. I've been trying to use CCE impacts on Twitter and on Instagram.
And so that's great for me to know, on this one that I used, RJ's video, that little drone video, 10 seconds long, I tagged CCE Cornell, and then I used the hashtag Cornell Cal, because I always do that. And I tried land grant because we're the land grant, and it kind of gets back to that. And then Cornell, because, this is more likely people will look at Cornell, and it kind of just inserts ourselves in that conversation. So prospective students from Los Angeles who are thinking about Cornell University, maybe they're searching through the Cornell hashtag and they come across this shot of a barn or a silo, and they realize, wow, Cornell, I don't think of it as being a land grant university. I don't think of it doing work across the 7.2 million acres of farmland in New York, because they only think of New York City and they don't know what Ithaca and the whole state's all about. So yeah, there's lots of hashtag opportunities as well. Your local community might have one, maybe Tompkins County or Wayne County or whatever it might be. So it's a way for you to get involved in a more local conversation.
Great. Well, this was really wonderful, Matt. Thank you so much for joining us. And I'm sure we all learned a lot. And thanks everyone for joining. Like I mentioned before, we're not going to have a call next month, but we'll pick it up again in January. So I'll be in touch with everyone about the details of that call. If you do think of any other questions related to Instagram or anything, feel free to reach out to the CCE-communications@cornell.edu email address anytime. And thanks again.